You are listening to the Billy Dees Podcast.
This episode is a simulcast with the Billy Dees Podcast and the Shades of Jade podcast. In it, Samantha Wooldrik interviews Billy Dees about his work, podcasting, and the general state of media. You can find both podcast shows on your favorite platform.
Hey everyone, my guest today is Billy Dees. Billy is the creator and host of the Billy Dees Podcast, a show that has spent over a decade delivering a unique blend of compelling interviews and thoughtful commentary. From deep dives with authors and media professionals to insights from political figures, Billy has truly mastered the art of conversation. Welcome to the show, Billy. I want to thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's absolutely wonderful to be here. I don't do guesting very often, so this is something I have to get used to, being a guest.
Yeah. So for those who haven't checked you out, your podcast is so much more organized, and you just do such a great job. And I really appreciate you being here. I hope that with practice, I can do a little bit better, a little bit more like you.
Oh, you do fine. And you know, I don't do the same thing that I did a year ago. You're always evolving. So yeah, that's just part of being a creator, being a broadcaster. Yeah, that's absolutely normal. You'll evolve. Yeah. You'll look at something you did a year and a half ago. I don't know. Why did I do it like that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure. Yeah. It's not like something you're going to nail or completely know what you want to do right off the bat. So, could you tell me and the audience a little bit more about how you got into podcasting and I guess kind of your daily life? Because a lot of people don't realize that podcasters, they have lives outside of podcasting too. This is oftentimes just a part-time job or a hobby.
That is true. Well, my history with audio goes way back. I mean, long before you were born. Back in the 70s and 80s, you don't hear as much about it as you did back then, but audiophiles were a big thing. And they're still around, but they're kind of a niche. You know, there's the people that like the vintage audio. They like the turntables. They like all the old speakers, and that's kind of a niche thing. But back in the 70s, while I was in grade school in the 70s, and I went to high school in the 80s. Okay. And during that time, it was very much more part of the vernacular than it is now. I mean, typically, especially when guys met up, it was like, what kind of car do you drive? And the next thing, what kind of amplifiers do you have? What kind of speakers do you have? And of course, everybody wanted more power. You know, that was the big thing. That's the old joke. And for those who are, audiophiles or wanting to get into it, wattage is not everything. It's oversold, but that's a whole nother subject for another time. But I very much enjoyed it. And those kind of electronics came relatively easy to me. Mm-hmm. My father was an audiophile as well, and that certainly steered me in that direction. But you got to keep in mind it was part of the culture at the time, Yeah. And I got involved with professional recording and production probably late in high school, and then I went to Kent for a while, Kent State University. And I started falling into niches. People started hiring me to do things on the side, and that just developed. And pretty soon I started my own business. I had a production studio for a long time, and this was back when we used tape.
Yeah.
And I used to do voiceovers and things like that. And I used to make commercials and drive them around to different radio stations. They had, now you can email them. But back then, you had and back then radio stations used what were called carts, and they were very similar to an 8-track, although there wasn't all the different channels. There was a loop in there, and the commercials and the songs and everything were stored on carts. So I used to make these recordings in what was called a half track. It's a reel to reel. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get it restored. I got some money set aside to get it restored. Oh, nice. But because a lot of audiophiles still love them, they sound great. Yeah. So what happened then was, as time went on, now this was probably about the 90s, and the digital stuff was coming in. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I always say is I kind of believe that somebody's in my generation. I'm on the older side of Generation X.
Okay.
If we were active during those years as a creator, as an audio production person, we kind of got in my opinion, at a good time, because we were on the ground floor as digital technology was being implemented. And we got to use the advantages, but we also understood the electronics. One of the things I've noticed is younger creators, especially in video, have a tendency to rely way too much on software to fix problems after you've done it. We'll fix it in post. And that's really not the right approach. You should always try to record something as good as possible. And if you're into photography, you want to learn the right lenses, the right filters. You shouldn't be using software to fix problems. That's really not what you shouldn't be doing. So my generation, we understand electronics, we understand resistance, we understand signal flow, and all those kind of things. Younger people have a tendency to rely way too much on software. A lot of times younger folks are using emulators and things like that are making performing the function of an actual, a piece of hardware, but they've never really had their hands on it. So I kind of think we're in kind of the best of both worlds, because if you go too much older than me, some of the baby boomers and things like that, they don't like the digital realm at all. They don't have anything to do with computers. So we're kind of right in that niche. I mean, we learned our trade on real electronics, and then we incorporated digital. Whereas, like I said, the younger folks rely too much on software. Older folks don't want anything to do with computers. So we're right in that thing where we understand both. So So as the years went on, I'm going to say podcasting kind of got on my radar 2011, 2012. Now, back then it wasn't big. It was very much a nerdy thing. And they were almost always downloaded. And we refer to downloads today, but they're really not downloads. They're most people stream them. They don't download them. But your app can temporarily download them if you're on the road or something, so you don't have to worry about maintaining your signal. But they got on my radar, and I started doing that. And 2012 was a big year for podcasts, because you had a sitting president give an interview to a podcast. And also you had what was going to become the crime genre. There was I believe it was called Dirty John or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it was something like that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that blew up. That absolutely blew up. Everybody was, and the crime genre is huge, as you probably all know.
Yeah.
And I always say there's more true crime podcasts than there are true crimes.
Yeah.
But so it kind of spun from there. So I did a couple of different podcasts, different incarnations of them. Mm-hmm. But I finally landed on just using my own name and doing commentary, doing interviews. I kind of fell into the author thing because one of the publishing companies reached out to me because they realized podcasts were going to be good for that. So I started to get a reputation very early on. So the podcast in its current form now is about, I'm going to say about 11 years old.
Yeah.
And so we have a long history with, if you go to any of the major podcasting platforms, we're there. So, that's kind of how I got into it. I've been doing audio for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know very much. I'm not great with technology. My brother is, and I just kind of learned as I went, and that makes things a little harder, I guess, I started out cheap, and then it's like, well, how much work am I making? Like you were saying with the software to make myself sound better. Okay. I could just save myself so much time if I get a better microphone or, someone was telling me that there's over, I think it was 65,000 podcasts out there now.
There's probably more than that. Yeah.
It's insane. And I remember I had my iPhone first, and obviously, and the podcast icon was there, and I was like, I'm not going to listen to a radio show. Yeah. I want to watch something. But now I don't watch much at all, but I'm listening to podcasts all the time. So it's interesting how it's changed. Yeah, it has. And like I said, now they're, preeminent type of media now, and on demand. And by the way, I did work in internet radio and things like that early on back then too. But the idea that you can have a radio show on demand, you can listen to it whatever you want, whenever it's convenient. The streaming now has really evolved. So I would say it's been a while since I looked up the stats on this, but probably most podcasts are still listened to on mobile devices. But that's changing. You have people can stream in their cars now. And that's very common. People have Sonos and the Amazon units in their home. So a lot of times while they're doing things around the house or whatever, and that's why I think sound quality is very important, because a lot of these, like the Sonos system, for example, and car stereos, and some of the newer cars sound fantastic. And you don't want to sound like a Teams call. Yeah. So, yeah. So, all right, we were discussing other podcasters before we started recording, and since we're on the topic, what do you think is happening? Do you think it's that there are so many people competing for others' attention that they're all just attacking each other right now? Well, this is something that concerns me. In terms of the sheer number of podcasts, I would say most of them are not active. If you go to any major podcasting platform and just, if there's a way that you could look at the whole list, I would say most of them are dead. Most of them are not producing anymore. Statistically, 6 or 7 episodes in is about as long as they last before people start to realize they're a lot of work. Or they just don't get an audience or something. So there's probably not as many as what some of those stats indicate. With that being said, here's how this kind of evolved. I would say I was one of the early adopters of podcasting, and independents like myself created the medium. And we created it at a time when we were internet nerds. Okay. And this is often how these things evolve. Yeah. So major media companies were like, we're not going to mess with podcasting. That's something that, tinkering around with the internet. Those are those people. Well, what happens then is, it becomes big. Sooner or later, one of these independents lands an interview with a president. Sooner or later, one of these independents, hits on a big topic. And all of a sudden now the medium starts getting big. And what happens then is the big guys say, okay, this is something we should probably invest some money in. Let's pull this guy off a cable and stick him on a podcast. And of course, he's got a multi-million-dollar media company behind him, so he goes straight to number one. They can pay for, the searches to be pushed, for the show to be promoted, and of course, he's got a name recognizability, through the roof. And all of a sudden, now these big guys step in, the big companies step in. Initially, that isn't entirely bad. When you have Dr. Phil or one of those kind of people coming onto a podcast, they bring an audience with them that may not be there had it been in for them. Okay. Yeah. So it does bring more people in. The downside is that when you go to do a search for anything, you're going to get these heavily promoted podcasts, from these major media companies. So Anderson Cooper and all those other people are going to come up. When you search a trending topic, you won't necessarily get a small independent. So that's kind of what happened. And when you look at Megyn Kelly, when you look at Tucker Carlson, these were people that were lightning rods when they were on cable. Yeah. So they brought that circus with them to the podcasting arena. And the only thing that worries me is I wouldn't care if they just damaged their own show. Right. But in 2024, you had a situation where
podcasting played a pivotal role, for better or for worse, in a presidential election. Mm-hmm. And their credibility is very high. And it's part of what I would call the new media. You have podcasting, you have Substack, things like that. And the last thing that I want, though, is, all this name calling, with some of these podcasters. And it's becoming a circus, a lot like cable news was back in the day. When Keith Olbermann was up against Bill O'Reilly. Keith Olbermann was on MSNBC. Bill O'Reilly was on Fox News.
Yeah.
Keith Olbermann used to do this bit called the worst person in the world. He'd do this thing at the end of his show where it was the worst person in the world, some kind of story. Somebody owned a restaurant and one of his employees stopped a robbery, and because he neglected his table, he got fired. So that person would be the worst person in the world. Okay. Well, it got to the point that the worst person was always Bill O'Reilly. And he would always be commenting about what Bill O'Reilly said the night before. Mm-hmm. And that kind of temperature is coming. And by the way, Keith Olbermann blocked me. So yeah. So anyway, and I didn't come after him at all. This was about an episode I did about the Democrats before the election, and I was not being partisan. I was not being partisan. I did say, though, from a marketing standpoint, they're on the path to lose. And, that's what happened.
And they did.
But anyway, this circus-like atmosphere is coming over. They brought that with them. Mm-hmm. So that concerns me because I don't want, cable news right now is a punchline. And I don't want that to happen to podcasting. I there's some really, whether you agree with them or not, people like Matt Taibbi and people like that. I mean, these are just incredible, smart journalists that have these podcasts. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't listened to Matt Taibbi, by the way, go out there and give him a listen.
I'll have to check him out.
Yeah. And he's the guy that did the Twitter files, if you're familiar with that.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, he's the one that really kind of exposed that the government was tampering with what was happening in Twitter.
Okay.
So this was before Elon bought it.
Yeah,
that's worth checking out. That's a pretty interesting story. So anyway, he's that guy, and he used to be paired up with a guy by the name of Walter Kern. Walter Kern and I actually follow each other on X.
Nice.
But they don't pair up anymore. I forget the guy's name, but Matt Taibbi's paired up with somebody else now on his podcast, and he's also on Substack. People like that, those are the people we should be listening to. Some of these other people, I don't know what happened to Tucker Carlson. I really, there was a time when I thought he was, pretty decent, but something happened with all of them. I don't know.
That's kind of what I've been wondering and thinking about as I see these people change, because some of them I listened to, some of them I didn't, some of them I had a lot of respect for, and then to see them do a 180, I can't think of any other excuse other than following the money. But some of these people, it's not like they're hurting for money, and it's not like changing their stances would help. I mean, they just don't need to. It's not like they would lose listeners by sticking with what they believe. But it's strange to see all of these people suddenly flipping and being completely different. I don't understand. I've seen that with like Marjorie Taylor Greene as well, where it's like, okay, so the theory that I've heard is that people realize that there is a need for conservative influencers and podcasters. And so people were like, well, this is my opportunity to get seen and heard. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then and with it all does kind of seem to coincide with the Iran situation. Like maybe they're like, oh, tides are turning. It's no longer beneficial for me to hold these stances, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. That's true. And I really don't know, now that you mentioned, I don't know what's really going on with the Iran war. I think a lot of people kind of hope that the people there were going to take over that regime once we started attacking and weakening that government, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, how do you get out now? That's interesting. That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, you're right. A lot of people who initially were on board with it, or at least okay with it, are starting to, get weary of this. It's the same old story. The strait's open, it's closed. It's open, it's closed. Oh, we're going to give it to them. Oh, there's a ceasefire. Oh, we're going to give it to them. Oh, there's a ceasefire. It's changing all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's honestly, that's what I'm tired about with all this is, I have a nephew that's over there, and it's like, can we wrap this up? Like he makes it sound like, where he's at, he's not in danger or anything. He kind of makes it sound like it's not this big deal at all. So it kind of makes you wonder, well, what's true? Because we have some people saying we're never going to win this war with Iran. There's no way to beat Iran. But then you hear, oh no, if we went at them with our full force, we would totally demolish them. I don't know what to believe. And yeah, go ahead.
I was only going to say, with an area like that, then we should have learned this with Iraq. Conquering the military, wiping out the military, going in there with a full head of steam is one thing. Policing that state is another thing entirely.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to be very careful of, because you can get into a situation where, now you're in there. Now you got control of it. Now what?
Yeah.
Then you start fighting them in the hills. Then you start fighting them in the mountains. And Iran is much larger than Iraq was. I mean, there's a lot of places to hide up in them narrow hills, as they say.
Yeah.
That's when you start taking casualties. That's when you got to go in there with boots on the ground. And you don't know who's with you, who isn't. That's kind of one of those things, the old story about be careful what you want, you just might get it.
Yeah.
Going in there and beating them is one thing, but now you got your forces in there. Now you got an unstable area. Now what happens?
Right.
So, and a lot of times whatever comes next is worse than what was there before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And my personal opinion on it was I was excited for the people of Iran to possibly get new leadership. But like you said, it's looking like that's not going to happen. And it's kind of the same jerking around with, oh, we're going to end this Russia-Ukraine conflict. Well, it's still going on. They're still striking each other. It's just not the popular topic. So we're not really hearing about it anymore. And yes, the back and forth with Iran with the Straits, and then we're in a ceasefire, but they're still striking us and we're blocking them. So it didn't, because okay, this part I don't quite understand. So did they maintain the ceasefire because they didn't actually strike us because we blocked them?
I don't know. I can tell you that as a rule, I am not a fan of ceasefires.
Right. Yeah.
I think ceasefires are generally a bad idea. When you go at somebody, you go at them until whatever goal is. And here again, what their goal was is a whole nother topic we could debate. But if your goal is to take somebody out, to take out a certain leadership, then you stay and finish it.
Yeah.
And then you get the hell out. You don't hang around.
Yeah.
What ceasefires basically do, and they play into the left a lot because they sound so wonderful. Why don't we just have a ceasefire? Oh, it's so wonderful. Who doesn't want to ceasefire? Well, what happens is what ceasefire means to the enemy is time to reload. Time to fortify your positions, time to do all those other kind of things. That was a big problem during the Vietnam War. A lot of the protesters, in my opinion, inadvertently got Americans killed. Because every time, things got bad, there would be protesters, raising heck. And it's okay, well, we're going to do a ceasefire. We're going to go to these talks. And they would refortify their positions. And now you have an even harder battle. And a lot of those Vietnam soldiers had to retake the same positions several times because they were told to back up. You can't fight a war like that. You just can't. Like Patton said, I don't want to get any messages telling me to hold my position. I'm not holding anything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When you get the enemy on their back, you keep going. Yeah, that's kind of my opinion on that. I really don't. That's turned into a political thing more so than a war. And I was hoping that wouldn't happen.
Right. And like Trump has always saying like, oh, no new wars, no new wars. So I guess when this all started, I believed that this was going to be over quickly. I don't quite understand what's going on with why it's taking so long, because I don't think Iran's actually going to agree to the peace deal that we're asking of them.
Probably not.
So
yeah.
Where do you think it's going to go?
I have no way of knowing, but I can tell you this will get drawn out. Yeah, this is a classic case of crap or get off the pot. Mm-hmm. If we have the fortitude to go through and take this regime out, and we have a plan for what happens afterwards, fine. If it's okay, maybe this was a bad idea. Let's back out of this. I'm going to say, well, that may not look good, but that's fine too. Just playing around with this and, letting it dangle, so to speak. Yeah, it's not good. It's going to create a bigger problem down the road if it's not ended one way or the other.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think it's really aligning with a lot of the other things that President Trump promised us with this administration. He promised us affordability. That was the largest affordability and immigration, and things aren't affordable. And yes, I'm willing to pay more for the people of Iran to get a better outcome. But if this drags on and then it turns into nothing better happened for them and we lost people and they lost thousands of people, then what was it for?
Yeah.
We're wasting a huge chunk of his administration on this.
Yeah, and listen, a lot of times you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. A lot of times they can't divulge all the things, which is fine. You can give them a little bit of leeway for that. But by the same token, this can't go on indefinitely. It just can't. These games, I just can't see it continuing. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we'll get a resolution sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you about my sponsors quick. Sometimes I get on a roll cleaning or gardening, and I need a boost but don't have time for a meal. Big Fork Brand's pork jerky is the perfect choice to keep my momentum, offering high-protein snacks for on-the-go energy boosts. Not only do they offer pork jerky, but they also make pork sticks, bacon sausage, bacon hot dogs, and burger and hot dog sauces. Products come in a variety of delicious flavors, including Thai green curry and maple and brown sugar for the meat options, and gangster and Chicago fire for the sauces. I personally think the original flavor of the pork jerky hits just right after tackling a big chore. It's a little salty and very flavorful. My discount code gives you 20% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit bigforkbrands.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Looking for a game-changing way to improve your health? Zevo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant, packed with over 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, and antioxidants. Harnessing the best nature has to offer, Zevo Life nourishes your body while driving your performance, vitality, and overall well-being. Each serving is a concentrated source of clean, well-balanced nutrition designed to support modern lifestyles, and just 1 teaspoon a day supports your gut, boosts energy, and promotes healthier skin and hair. It's no wonder that it's receiving rave 5-star reviews. Step into a healthier future with a 30% discount and a 30-day risk-free guarantee by visiting zivo.life and using my promo code. To support my show and to receive 30% off your entire order, enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. What have you been thinking about, like all the other things going on with California? I saw that there was an SPLC hearing recently. There's a lot of other things happening right now.
Yeah. I think we got a lot of turmoil at home. California is a problem in and of and by itself. I've said this before. I think there is a problem with, we could always rely on the American people, even in our darkest times, for what you might consider a general wisdom that the population had. There was always people on the fringes. Okay. But there was a general wisdom that people had, whether it be through World War II and even during the Vietnam era. You had a lot of people that were protesting and all that, but the mainstream, basically, whether they were for or against what was happening in Vietnam, they were responsible citizens. They understood the facts. They, researched things and so on. Yeah. What we have now is a situation where people are not only entitled to their own opinion, which is fine, but they are entitled to their own reality, to the point where no matter what evidence that you show them, nothing is going to change their mind. And this is actually one of the worst things that the founding fathers worried about, was what happens when, a democracy is always, we're a type of democracy. I know those people say, we're not a democracy, we're a representative republic. We've been watching it going back a lot, which is fine. That isn't untrue. But the fact of the matter is we have democratic principles, and the public has a lot to say. And with any democracy, what you have to be very careful of is the slide that goes into mob rule is very thin. So in the case of the United States, we have, a constitution, we have representative government, and all these other types of things that are meant to hold that in check.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the founding fathers worried about was, and that's why we have an electoral college, is it's one day the mob was going to become too unruly and start making bad decisions, because there's only so much you can do in a situation like that. And for the most part, during my lifetime up to now, I've never really had much concern about that. I was, like I said, in the 80s when Reagan was president and everybody was worried he was going to start World War III with the then USSR.
Yeah.
I mean, I was never really worried about any of that. But now we have a situation, the public back then liked him or didn't like him. He was very popular, but they all lived in the real world. Now we don't have that. We don't have that. So I don't know, there's a lot of things that we could guess as to why that happened, but we don't have that anymore. We have people now that are in their own reality. They have their own set of morals. They have their own set of what justice is. And it's a scary time.
Yeah. It is, to me, it's like, with a science background, I always look at the statistics, the facts, the probabilities. And when I see things being pushed that are not probable, not likely, and don't go with statistics, I can't believe that. And I can't believe the other people are, it's plain as day right in front of your face. Like there's no way that with Spencer Pratt and how he was doing in the LA mayoral race, that there's a 4,000 vote dump and not one vote is for him. Yeah. And also most of them are for Rahman and not Karen Bass, who is in the lead. That's not statistically possible.
Yeah.
But we're just supposed to accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You don't know what to believe.
Yeah. What do you think? Why do you think this is happening to so many people, where they are creating their own realities and their own set of, how is this happening?
There's a lot of things. Without giving too lengthy of an answer, I think that if you go back to the 1950s, for example, news was a public service. News was something that the networks did begrudgingly. because they wanted to get I Love Lucy and all that stuff on there because that's what made money.
Yeah.
Watching her fall down or get chocolate all over her face is what people tuned in to watch. They didn't really tune in to watch what Congress was voting on.
Right.
And what really changed that was in 1963 when President Kennedy got shot. That weekend, the entire country was glued to their TVs for 3 days. And of course, his assassin was assassinated right on live TV. And the United States was mesmerized with their televisions. And up until then, real news, quote unquote, real journalism was on the paper and in the radio.
Yeah.
It wasn't on TV. But that changed everything. And the executives decided, you know what? This news thing, we might be able to make money on this. And of course, the 60s were ripe with all kinds of turmoil going on between Vietnam and civil rights and all the assassinations and everything else.
Yeah.
And then Watergate. And I think Watergate is when a lot of commentators started to take a little liberties with the fact that millions of people were tuning in to hear the latest events on Watergate. And it was a good opportunity to start bloviating,
Okay.
What did the president know? How much did he know? And when did he know it? And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the partisanship started to rear its head. And by the time the 1980s rolled around, you had cable news. And there's only so much happening in a given day. So how do you get people to tune in? Well, you tell them what they want to hear,
Yeah.
And of course, now we have social media where everybody's, we follow people we like, and we don't just ignore people we don't like. We block them. Just like I got blocked by Keith Olbermann.
Yeah, that's a badge of honor, I think.
Yeah, it might be. But I used to show the blocked on the podcast. Where I come up when I go to his profile and it says this person has blocked you. I used to show that.
Yeah.
But now it's getting to the point where we won't even tolerate hearing something we don't agree with. And we're all in our own little camp. We're all in our own little bubble. Everybody's on a team.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of conspiracy theories that say that this was orchestrated because if you are on a team, if you're one of these people, I'll never vote blue. I'll never vote red. If you're in one of those camps, you are handing somebody a ticket to manipulate you. Okay. Yeah. Free thinkers have to come back. It's one thing to be a conservative in general philosophy or a liberal in general philosophy. It's another thing to be so embedded in these ideologies that you're essentially in a religious cult. It's just like somebody who believes something fervently about some spirituality or something, and they have this moral high ground because of it.
Right.
You can't shake them from that mountain peak. They think they have the moral leverage on you because they're right and they're sure that they are right. And any facts that disparage that is, it's fake news.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of think the evolution of how news has been managed, both in legacy media and now in social media, has really changed how people consume news. They don't want to be bothered with things that they don't like.
Right.
Back in the 1960s and 1970s, if Walter Cronkite came on CBS News and told you the war wasn't going well, whether you liked it or not, that was the news. Okay?
Right.
Now we follow the news that puts a different spin on what's happening with Iran. If you like the president, and if you don't like the president, you follow the news channels that say that what's happening in Iran right now is a disaster. So where is it? Where is the truth? It's probably somewhere in the middle, but we don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That kind of made me think about when I lived in Austin, Texas. I was a Democrat voter, but whatever I did, it was already that kind of tribalism almost down there. So any thought that I had that didn't match theirs, I'd get poo-pooed about it, and it's like, I don't really like that you guys judge me for this and I don't judge you for your thoughts. And that kind of drove me away from the party, really. But I see both sides being just as tribal now. Sure.
And what's happening with CBS right now, you had Scott Pelley that was let go from 60 Minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And this was right after Stephen Colbert left his late night show. And Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel both, they're basically Rachel Maddow with a live audience and a band. They're political, left-leaning talk shows is what they are. They are not entertainment and they are not news. They are political mouthpieces with a live audience and a band. That's what they are. Now, you might think that's okay and that's fine, but that's what they are. And, Jimmy Kimmel said it's not my job to be funny when he was being criticized about some of the things he said. And he does his job very well because most of the time he's not funny. He's making political commentary.
Right.
And the legacy media is completely dominated, has been completely dominated with the exception of talk radio. Mm-hmm. Fox News is probably more middle ground, but the major networks and all the other major cable news, all left leaning. So I find it so odd that these people, when Pelly gets let go, or in Stephen Colbert, it's censorship, it's this and that. It's not any of those things. Late night is devolving. Okay, there's no audience for it anymore. The audience is north of 70. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but the days of Johnny Carson dominating that. There was a time when Johnny Carson was a huge slice of what NBC made in a year. I mean, he was like 30 or 40%. In today's dollars, it was like $1 billion he brought in. Okay, those days are gone. Okay?
Yeah.
Those shows are just staying alive. I don't understand why they have such massive staffs. I mean, Stephen Colbert had like 100 people doing what? So I don't get it, but the ice cube is melting, as the guy from CBS said, and we got to make some changes. And I just find it odd that all the people who had their way with the mainstream media for so long now are suddenly crying foul because they're losing their, I hope you don't mind me saying a bad word, they're losing their monopoly on bullshit is what's happening. Yeah. And I don't want to hear bullshit from anybody. I want a fair and balanced newscast. I don't want bullshit from anybody. We shouldn't be trading in that, but that's what's happening.
Yeah. You know, it's almost like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert lost. They stopped remembering what they were on those shows to do. Like the people that they took the place of. It was a late night show. Like you talk about what's going on in the world and you make jokes and you're funny and it's something that people can watch to unwind. They weren't political shows before. Like sure, they had politicians on and talked about politics, but that's not what the main goal was. And then they just turned it into their soapbox to whine and cry about what other people are doing. And they are stoking the hatred fire. Yeah. They're causing division. And when people get off work and they sit down to eat and they want to relax, they don't want to be lectured about politics. And that's why they don't have viewership. I mean, because Stephen Colbert, he was funny. But now he's got, like you mentioned, that whole team writing for him. Yeah. I don't know what he does the rest of the day. He probably would have been much more successful if he wrote his own show and his own jokes and just stuck with that.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, there's a famous clip that you can Google up when he was on 60 Minutes. Mike Wallace asked him, how come you don't really take on some political issues? A lot of people say with the forum that you have, that you should probably take on some serious issues. And he said, I think the idea of an entertainer, which people like, they have an emotional connection to, influencing people, I think is a dangerous road to go down.
Yeah.
And you got to keep in mind at that time, during that interview, he was at the height of his power.
Yeah.
And that's a response. That's looking at things in a responsible manner that people don't give a second thought to today. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel can come out and say about President Trump's wife that she looks like a widow, and he'd get that's the type of thing that would never have happened in years past.
Right.
And there was more responsibility. There was more respect for the audience. There was more respect for your own influence. In years past. I think I can tell you, I'm old enough to remember Johnny Carson when he was live. You can go back and look at some of the other stuff, but I watched him when he was live.
Yeah.
A charismatic, funny guy like that does not exist in late night TV. It just does not exist. I think Jay Leno carried the flame pretty far. Jay Leno and Johnny Carson too. They both would poke fun at the current president, regardless of who he was, but it was never mean spirited. And there was always politicians from one side or the other coming on the show and talking about stuff, and they would laugh at certain issues, but it was never mean spirited. These shows now are one sided. They are mean spirited, and they are the sharp political commentary.
Yeah.
So here again, I think too, it's confusion about censorship, because when these people get let go, you got to keep in mind that ratings are important. Mm-hmm. And you also have to keep in mind that these are on the airwaves. What Johnny Carson did and what Jay Leno did were on the airwaves. And one of the things that I got into trouble with FCC years ago.
Oh, really?
With broadcast standards. Yeah, I did. I had a sound effect on a commercial that got me in some trouble. But yeah, I did. That was back in the 1990s. And here again, that wasn't governmental censorship. That was the management of the station saying, we're afraid you're going to offend somebody.
Okay.
And the common good is what the rule is. So does this serve the common good? And with these shows being so one-sided, those airwaves belong to every taxpayer, even the ones that agree and don't agree with those people. And the stuff is always one-sided. It doesn't serve the common good anymore. So taking them off isn't censorship. The government isn't making these people go away. As a matter of fact, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, they went on their own thing and became bigger than what they were in legacy media.
Right.
Made more money. So, I mean, there's nothing stopping Stephen Colbert from doing that. If he wants to, or Scott Pelley or any of those people. So, I mean, if they're really as popular as they think they are, then they should have no problem doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I don't know too much about Scott Pelley other than a lot of people are upset with it. Was he let go for the same reason, just lack of viewership? No, he brought on his own demise. Okay. I'm trying to think. Nick Bilton and Barry Weiss, a couple others. Okay.
And here again, I would, for your listeners, I would, Google this up, get the exact details. But the management of CBS has changed and 60 Minutes has changed. And here again, getting back into the demographics, the audience, all these other things with 60 Minutes, they decided that they had to make some changes. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Bill Maher said this, and I would agree. I've watched 60 Minutes on and off, not as much as I used to, but I haven't seen any changes at 60 Minutes. If I wouldn't have known all this hocus pocus that's going on in the media, I would never have. It doesn't seem like there's any dramatic changes going on.
Okay.
But with that being said, Scott Pelley, I guess, stormed into the office a week or so ago, whenever it was, said the quote that was out there was, "You guys are murdering CBS." 60 Minutes. So with that comment, apparently, and here again, there's some dispute about what happened after that. They tried to call him in and have a more sophisticated conversation after cooler heads prevailed, but he didn't back off of his position. And they were very upset about the fact that the new leadership was in there trying to establish a rapport with, the staff and everything right out of the gate. And before they can even have a chance to implement that, to introduce themselves, Scott Pelley is standing up in front of them saying that they're murdering the show. So they said, okay, well, if that's your attitude, see ya. So they canned him later that day. So you had a longtime correspondent on, 60 Minutes. He was an anchor on the CBS Evening News there for a while. Seemingly pretty well respected. I mean, the guy didn't really impress me one way or the other. Yeah. He seemed like a solid reporter. A lot of people have criticized him, said he'd usually take left positions when he would interview politicians and things like that, which he might have. But I didn't think he was the worst apple in the bin by any stretch of the imagination. Mm-hmm. But anyway, for some reason he decided you can't just walk in. I don't care who you are, walk into your place of employment and tell everybody in front of all the new people that you suck and then expect, to get away with it. I don't know. You got to be more diplomatic about changes than that.
Yeah. It's, it does seem like certain people, especially if they're on TV, have a lot of listeners, or well, a lot, but some fame. It's almost like they don't understand that they're still doing a job and they still need to perform for their employer. Yeah.
So that's the thing. You got to work with the people that own the company. Yeah. And and here again, I disagreeing with your boss or whatever is one thing. Mm-hmm. Making those kinds of comments. Oh, and he actually said that they're unqualified because they have tech writing backgrounds.
Yeah.
And he said, they're unqualified and this and that, and they're murdering the show. There's nowhere to go with that. There's nowhere to say, okay, well, how can we make it better?
Right.
I mean, that's pretty much the end of it, right? There. So, so that's what happened.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what more changes. I mean, I guess that is nice to see that there are some changes being made as far as media goes that matches the interests of other people. Instead of people with belief.
I've been watching here again, not every night, but the CBS Evening News, and I have not seen a radical. If anything, they're center. If anything, this idea that they've moved to the right is not true at all. My only criticism of all the major networks, and CBS is the one I've watched the most lately because I wanted to see if there's any changes.
Yeah,
is this concentration on weather? I have no idea. I mean, before the Iran attacks, this was like 24 hours or 48 hours before we attacked Iran. Everybody knew it was happening. It was all over X. It was all over cable news.
Yeah.
Okay, so I tune into CBS to find out, okay, what's the latest on this? Okay, here's a major news network. Oh, it's major snow is coming into New York. We have team coverage tonight. They're going to have to get the snow plows out. They might get a foot. Okay. I'm watching this. Is this for real?
Yeah.
And it happens more frequently. When I turn on the news and the first thing they said, tornadoes are coming into Texas, I turn it off. Unless you're talking about a hurricane that's going to take out 2 or 3 states, there's no reason why Eastern countries during the wintertime getting a snowstorm should be the lead on the CBS Evening News. I don't get it. But that's my opinion. Maybe that's just my observation, but I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I point out to my husband all the time that our local news station is always covering like big events in other states. And it's like, can you just talk about the event that's going on downtown for a little bit? Yeah. Like, what are we doing? Yeah.
Well, my only defense of that is the big networks don't cover them. Unless New York is getting snow or somewhere else down south is getting rain.
Yeah.
It's here again, I understand a disaster of epic proportions, but the idea that New York is going to get a heavy snowstorm and they have to call out snow plows, that is not significant. That's not No. Yeah. World War III is about to start, but first we got to talk about, there's a nor'easter coming in. Oh, Jesus, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground. If you have anything else you want to ask me, feel free to do so. But we covered the ground over the last hour. I hope we provided some entertainment and some information for your listeners.
Yeah. As always, it was a pleasure. Where can everybody find you?
Sure. Well, the Billy Dees Podcast can be found on any major podcast platform. We have, like I mentioned earlier, we've been around for about, certainly 10 years, maybe 11 or 12. I don't know the exact number. Mm-hmm. But needless to say, we're not hard to find. So by all means, listen to us. Give us a couple episodes. It's free. There's no paywalls. Even my Substack, there's no paywalls. That is not where our income comes from. Our income, and I'll spare you the details, but comes from production. We don't charge listeners. Okay, so we appreciate our listeners. They're a very valuable part of what we do. we would be talking to ourselves without them. So we don't charge listeners, and we don't make them pay for extra content, any of that kind of stuff. So by all means, check us out. I'm on most social media. I just started a Substack. I'm like brand new on there. But probably my social media home is still X, the old Twitter, only because there's such a trending aspect to X, very real time, which is perfect for news and podcasting and all the stuff I'm involved in. So that's kind of like my social media home, at Billy Dees on X, the old Twitter. Feel free to follow me, but appreciate it.
Sounds great. Also, I did want to let you know that my uncle listens to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So then when I was on, when we did that appearance with Sarah, he was like, oh yeah, he's had Sarah on before. And I'm like, oh, you must listen to him. So anyway.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Well, hello to your uncle. I don't know his name, but hello.
Gary,
yeah. What's up, man? All right.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
And I'll talk to you soon.